Welcome back to Hockey on 216, proudly driven by Hyundai. In studio with me this evening, Thabang Diole, Hope Palaba. Great to have you both in studio. Thabang, I think you might be certainly not making your debut on the mic for hockey, but certainly in the Hockey on 216 studio.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, thanks for having me firstly, Calvin. I think it's a great privilege. Certainly not my first rodeo on the mic, but certainly the first on 216.
Those of you who've been watching Hockey on 216 on the SuperSport Schools app this year would have heard the dulcet tones of Thabang over many of our hockey matches this year. Similarly, Hope, although she's joined us on the show before. And some special guests in the studio as well this evening. The one on my left takes absolutely no introduction to all of you hockey fans out there. One of the great legends of South African hockey, Nicoline Terblanche. So lekker om jou hier te hê.
Goeie Afrikaans daar, Calvin.
Ek probeer net my best. It's really special to have such a wonderful legend of South African hockey, a former captain, and now the coach at Uffy's Macy's, and that's largely what we'll be talking to this evening. And great to see you in that old school Uffy's Macy's jersey. It's really beautiful.
No, thank you, Calvin. Thank you for having us. It's nice, and yeah, it is a nice jersey, so it must look smart.
No, listen, you certainly look the part. It's fantastic. And with her, Mia Pretorius, captain of Uffy's Macy's, your debut with us on the show as well. I think we haven't interviewed you during the year, have we?
No,
didn't think so. So amongst our different shows. So really wonderful to have you here. And one of the reasons we've got the Uffy's Macy's ladies in is they've just had such a wonderful season coming off the back of two incredible wins late on from a tournament perspective, winning Pull and Howe. The first time that they've actually done that, and we're going to delve a bit into that, and going from that into the Challengers Series, into the sort of 13 to 24, and coming out with a wonderful win there at La Rochelle last week. So, Nicoline, maybe just starting with that. I mean, it's been a wonderful season for us. We've watched your team progress, have really good results all the way through the year. Played a lot of tournaments, didn't win any of them, and kept those two wins right for the end.
Yeah, I think that was special. I must have a really good team this year. And like 11 grade 12s and then the rest grade 11. So we have experience and that's nice. And the last two tournaments was special. Pull and Howe was our first, and so it's lekker om 'n bietjie geskiedenis te maak daarso. And I think that was give us great momentum going into Challengers Cup, and we were positive and scoring good goals. That was exciting. So, and it was a massive team effort. So it was good.
One of the things going into, a tournament to win, and we've seen it, I don't think there's another team that's won two tournaments this year in any of the girls' tournaments. And there's been some really good teams in Renish and Chim and in lots of others that have gone as favourites in. To win two tournaments is hard. I mean, you must, you win the first one, you've got to sit and think, we've won Pull and Howe, it's a first. Now you've got to go and replicate it the next week.
Yeah, I think our team is very consistent throughout the whole year. We started off strong and very, very consistent throughout the whole season. Everybody working hard, always pitching up for the games and giving it our all. Yeah.
And I guess that's what you need to be doing to sort of win back-to-back tournaments, because we saw it with Renish in the top 12. Outstanding, just looked like they were going to blow everything away, lose it in the semi-final because they don't score enough goals, lose on 8 seconds, and they're playing for dirty gold. So that consistency is so important.
I think with that being said, you guys obviously face a lot of teams that play in top 12. For example, Polchim. You have the Polchim Derby every year, and you went down there and you beat them on their home turf. Can you tell us what the experience was like, how you prepped this year as opposed to last year, and what your plans are going forward for the next season?
Okay, so one thing this year, I think a big change in our team was the team dynamics, and it was a good, positive vibe. We were competitive, they're competitive players, really. In dit maak het maklik, want they wanted more, and it's nice to coach players like that. And it's also difficult, but it's nice. They are driven, and that's one thing that was I will tell you, the team environment was special this year.
One of the things you speak about, and we often talk about good players, coachable players. I mean, you were a very coachable player in your day.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you were. You were a coachable player, and that's what made you such a good player.
Ja, ek dink ek was nie die beste speler nie, maar hard work in coachable, dit was my lekker. And they they're really, really talented, but they're coachable, and that makes a difference. If you're coachable and good, you will get success, and
you get the results.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. That 100%. I mean, we just see that taking place, and I guess does that help in sort of creating that sustainable, that sort of consistency of performance as well? That you can adapt strategically. I presume that you went from one tournament to the other with something slightly different in the back pocket, and the team were able to then implement that when required.
Yeah, sorry. Back on hopes. Like what changed from last year to this year? Like we score goals. We struggled to score goals last year. Like. Yeah, it was frustrating, and this year we said we're not going to go through that, like struggle to score goals. You dominate the game, but you don't score.
Absolutely.
This year, it was consistent hockey, but we scored flipping good goals. And if you score, you win.
Yeah.
So, and it helps. So, yeah.
And besides that, you have a very good goalkeeper, Cara Bauer. She's the SA under 18B keeper. And I know she's a specialist in stroke taking and in 8 seconds. And I think she played a very, very massive role in your team dynamics. I think coaches who did video analysis would know as well. Do you think it's going to be a big loss for you? And how was her adding value to you in the team this year?
So every coach will tell this, if you have a good keeper, it helps you because your team and your defenders, they feel like comfortable and like confident. You so walk up on the field and you go, we've got this, we can play aggressive hockey because I've got someone in the goal box like that is really good. And Cara is a special goalkeeper. I know she's good. And with 8 seconds, she loves it. So she likes 8 seconds. And I must say the few players that take 8 seconds, Mia is part of that. Also, they are confident. They like the big match temperament. It's massive. No, they like big games. So it helps with those players.
I mean, that's such an important part that you talk about, like goalkeepers who want to get into 8-second situations, and maybe going to you, Mia. I mean, like you take the 8-seconders, you want to be there.
Yeah.
It's such an important part of being successful when it comes to that. And one of the things we saw so much in girls' hockey tournaments this year were going down to 8-seconders.
Yeah.
We saw it in Euros football, went down to penalties. Like the players who want to be in those situations tend to be the ones. So what is it you love about the 8-seconders?
It's like it drives me. It's the stress and I have big match temperament, so yeah.
You like to be the one that's shining. You like to be there. I'll do it.
If you have to say it, so yeah. But definitely with Cara in the goal box, you feel confident. You don't stress a bit.
No, I get that you're happy with the goalkeeper, but as a player, because there's a lot of really good players who don't want to be taking the 8-seconders, and the fact that you do, it's interesting to get into. You also got to you say it's that high pressure.
I love high pressure. Yeah,
you just like it.
Yeah, it drives me. It makes me a better player. Yeah.
That's good. I know you were in the Northern Gauteng under 18A girls side, and you also captained there. So can you tell me, what did you take from the tournament, from IPT, back into school hockey, and what changed your personal dynamic going into the Rising Challengers Cup?
Oh, definitely from Northerns, I can say playing as a team. I think our team very strongly connected from Northerns. And yeah, I think playing as mid, the distribution in the middle, yeah, I think that motivated me. And also I took that from Northerns, taking it to all girls. And I think that helped our team a lot to make the transfers. And yeah, I think that's important.
That's good.
So
you start to sort of look at the season winding down. Have you got any more matches left at all, or are you guys at the end now?
No, we're done. Like we had like a busy
year. You finished
year.
On a massive high.
Yeah, that was nice. So we were disappointed at St. Mary's. Like it's a difficult tournament. Like you need to score in 25 minutes. And
it must be the hardest tournament to win because of that. Because if you concede early, it's hard.
Yes.
And if you don't score,
and then you
can suddenly get 1 or 2 results and fall out. And
exactly, on goal difference. You fall under goal difference, not like a win or lose. That's frustrating. But we said, okay, well, we had our goals for the season and we did tick a lot of them. So that was exciting. And yeah, we are done. We went to the Netherlands as well with this group. So busy year. So I think also they are happy, like, okay, coach, we are done now. So yeah, it's good. I think it's like you say, it was busy, but it was awesome.
You guys obviously had a lot of games throughout the course of the year, and you had the Pretoria League as well, where you guys ended second and so on. But tournament-wise, how did you turn around from one tournament to the next, or from one game to the next? Because you had 2 to 3 fixtures in a week.
Yeah, so that was difficult, and also with academics. Because they are clever players, which is, it's nice because academics, it's important. And all of them, they're doing so well. They're taking the books with them on tour. So they have to, on the bus, on the flight. And I must say, I have respect for them. I don't know how they do that, and they get their 80s, 70s, or whatever. I tell them 50% is good. So. So turnaround is small, but like I said, they are a driven group of players, and they want it. And this year is like, no, coach, we're not going to struggle. We want it. So that want and belief, it was there. So for them, it was a massive change.
You mentioned that Netherlands tour. How long were you there?
10 days?
Yeah, 10 days.
And how many sort of matches, and what did you fit in your program there?
So we did play practice matches. Was it 2?
Yeah, we played 2 practice matches, against the
3,
clubs
wasn't
there. The 2 practice matches.
And
we
then-
had a clinic a day.
Yes, and then we played in the Easter Festival. So
Easter Festival over there.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that was nice with all the international teams, and we came. Was it 50 gekomen?
Yeah, we came 5th. Yeah.
So, Mia, what did you take out of that tour? I mean, you've obviously played a lot of hockey in this country, in South Africa. I mean, that Dutch tour must be quite something. I mean,
that was
home
an
of hockey in a lot of
experience.
respects, and certainly in girls' hockey and women's hockey, there can be no better place to play the game.
Exactly. Yeah, that was the experience, but not just on the hockey field, but I think that motivated our team and connected our team in a different way that other teams across the country couldn't experience that. So I think that helped our team a lot throughout the whole season because we connected on a different level. But the hockey there was insane. We watched matches and it was insane. It just to see how hockey is developed around the whole world and not just in South Africa.
And the way that they play the game, is there anything specific you took from the way they played the game that you guys tried to implement? Yeah, I mean, it's always difficult to change it, but was there anything specific you saw there as a team and you said, you know what, we're going to try and replicate that back in South Africa?
Yeah, definitely the speed of the ball speed and the passing game they play, not just everybody going individual. And I think that's definitely it.
I'm glad that you raised that. It's one of the things that we've been discussing, how many players we see run into contact in this country as opposed to passing the ball. Because often the first pass is the best pass, Nicoline.
Yeah, no, that's true. You can ask her. First, always with my team talks like, Mia, wat moet ons doen?
Passing game. Passing game,
So,
always.
Yeah, for me, that's important as a coach.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like your individual skill, but use it at the right moment. And I think every time we came off the field and coach was lekker, ons het so gepas en ek sê en in 2 versus 1 en in connections en dan hulle van so was dit lekker? Ja, dit was lekker. And so if they get that feeling like passing and it goes well, like flip, it's passing. So and I have respect for those and we have a lot of them, me included. Individual skills crazy. And I think that's also one thing. This year, they get it right. Like when to pass, when to go individual, and it was good.
I've obviously done some research on the way in which your team plays, and I think tactically you guys are such an amazing team to look out for. But what broke us every single time, looking at how you play, is how you move the ball. So, for example, you think you're right for the 2v1, but you guys break every single team with the 2v1, especially in your outlet. So. How do you train it and how do you get the right mentality for it?
So actually when I played, like with Giles, a lot of mini games and I like games. So, and for me that's because it's more realistic and also most of the time equal numbers in defense and attack. Because in a game, not often, when I played against Parel Gym, you never play
5-on-4,
never.
3-on-2.
It's man-to-man. It's equal numbers all over the field and mini games all over the field. That's how I see it.
We'd love to come back and explore a little bit more about how you prepped for the season and some of the things that you did, but we need to go to a commercial break and we'll be back talking to me and Nicoline after the break. Welcome back to Hockey on 216, proudly driven by Hyundai. Tabang, one of the things we've been talking about a lot is goal scoring this year, and I know it's something that you've got a few questions for Nicoline on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, she mentioned earlier before we went on that break, you mentioned last season you guys were struggling to score a couple of goals, you were dominating games, and in this season you turned that around and you scored plenty of goals. What exactly did you do as a coach in terms of, and you spoke a lot about game situation, training. So what exactly did you focus on to turn that around?
So we did train a lot of goal scoring, but not only my strikers, my midfielders as well. And I think Mia is she's a midfielder and she's my top goal scorer in the team. Mia, hoeveel goals? I think it's
13, 14.
for the season as a midfielder.
That speaks volumes.
Exactly, and which is nice. Like in the team, it was not only the strikers, it was my strikers and midfielders. Every time it's someone different scoring a goal.
I was going to say, I mean, if you scored 13, 14 and you're the top goal scorer and you scored a lot of goals this year, then a lot of people were scoring goals.
Exactly. So that was the difference as well. It's not only my strikers, strikers, midfielders, and my defenders in PCs. But I think, and we always ask like, who scored a goal? And it's like 6 hands going up. So it's not one person that shines in scoring goals. It was a massive team effort. So, and I tried to do that. Like I said, they are talented, so it helps. But they it's strikers, midfielders all over. It's not only from top D, it's baseline, 2v1s with the goalkeeper as well and stuff like that. So, and that's one thing I really wanted to change.
Mia, do you think it helps amongst the other players that it's not like one girl's problem? I mean, I always feel sometimes you watch teams and you think it's that girl's problem. You know, it's either the girl who's taking the shorty or it's the striker or the wing that's got to score all the goals. And if she's not scoring, we don't win. Does it help going in knowing that everyone around you and everyone's wanting to score and that no one's relying necessarily on you?
Yeah, definitely. As Coach Colleen said, it's a team effort, a massive team effort to get there. And trusting your teammates and knowing they can score goals, it's confidence boost when you're in the circle, definitely.
But I guess a lot of that, and I mean, I didn't watch all of the goals that you scored. It'd be very interesting for us to do. Maybe you can do some analytics on it for us. But one of the things we're not seeing necessarily enough is that final pass in the D, passing to the person with the best opportunity to score, as opposed to someone taking a shot that's not really on, sort of links back to what you were talking about. Those, I mean, it's almost like the 2v1. If you can 2v1 the keeper, that's the best way to take the keeper out of play, is for the pass to take them out of play. Is that something that you work on?
Definitely. I've like when we went to the Netherlands, and I said to them, if you're in the D, be patient. Like sometimes you want in the D, like you said, you want to smack the. No, maybe it's not the right option. Take your time. You're on the ball, so watch, and maybe you have a pass. Okay, now I have to take a shot. And when in the Netherlands, we saw we went to the Euro League. And like the way the guys receive the ball in the circle, but they're on the ball and they stand still and they watch for a pass to make that extra connection in the D. And all of them they don't just hit the ball. If they have space, they do. But if they don't have space, take your time and you either get a short corner or you can just it's mini games in the circle as well. So, and for me, that's also, it's something different. Like it's not like go in the D and smack it. It's like you need to think as well.
It's good that you mention it because you guys have really been patient with your outlet and your build-up and coming into the circle. You've been really very smart with the decision-making, especially when it comes to 2v1s against the keeper, overloading the circle, looking for that extra passing option. But what makes it very special is the speed in which you guys did it. So yes, you were very patient in your outlet, but the ball speed, as you said, was impeccable. So do you think the dynamic is going to change having a younger side next season versus this season, or what are your thoughts on that?
It will change because they are now young, but it's nice and exciting because they are totally different players, like completely. So, and I think the senior of the grade 11s that like stays behind, they obviously saw and see, okay, we did this, and they will transfer to the next players. And I think it will change, but it's exciting and good. So, and then you can teach them as well. So, and some things, did work, didn't work, but that's coaching and that's lekker. So I'm excited for this next group because also they are actually a passing team. They're not like individuals, which is nice. I like it.
Absolutely.
It's a great learning school. I mean, I watched your Rising Champs, and going to Rising Champions is very, very tough because there's a few schools there that just miss out on top 12, and you're one of them. And there's some schools that like properly missed out and are ranked a little bit lower. So I want to ask you, how was your turnaround time as opposed to teams that are very strong and similar to the way in which you move the ball versus teams that are very individual and not as tactically inclined as you guys are?
Well, it was nice. It's a competitive tournament, and you get, like you say, some good teams, and then also those that are like, we are there, but we are not. All of them are there, but it's different because you need to adapt each game, and each individuals they play different hockey. And for players to adapt, it's lekker, and also for a coach, it's different. You need to think, so that's nice. But competitive, that's always nice. We played like Herschel. And they are that was a tough game. It was a pool game, and but it was good hockey. We lost against them in the pool game, and we got in the final we played them again. So and that was it was a nice final. So and that was also nice because the way we played them in the pool, we changed the way we played in the final, and it was challenging.
I think one most important thing there you mentioned, you played them in the pool, you lost it, you played them in the final, you turned that result around. But I've got a question for you, Mia. How do you mentally prepare for that? You know, you spoke about being the player that's wanting to take the penalty strokes in a game, being that player that's got the BMT. How do you prepare mentally to turn around such a result?
I think if you go into the game, it's always going to be the one who wants it more. And I think we worked the whole season for it. And we just wanted it so much more than Herschel did it. So I think, they obviously wanted it, but I think on that day, we were just on top, I think,
With that being said, there have obviously been very tough games in your season and you took losses, it's normal. How do you react to it as a player and how do you turn around and prep yourself for the next game?
Well, it definitely hurts the night after the game, But then, as my dad usually says, the sun comes up the next day. So you just get up and you keep on moving and forget about the game and focus on the next one. Because if you lose focus, then the whole season is not going to end on a good note. And I think that's actually why we sort of wanted the game more against Herschel, because it was our last game as a team together.
Yeah.
So I think that's what drove us to perform.
It's amazing.
So I just want to take you back a bit to this whole idea of ball speed, and you've mentioned it so often. What skills are you, in terms of your preparation, how are you teaching these youngsters ball speed? I mean, it's one thing to say to them, I want more ball speed.
Yeah.
We can all say that, and we all talk about it all the time. How do you do it?
Okay, so for me, always, I start like maybe at 10 meter, 15 meter.
Clearly something, yeah.
Because not all players like basics.
Very few players like basics.
We don't like basics.
And me, as a player, I love basics and just pass. I like it. Malcolm Ratz, my Tux coach, that's what we did. It's like he said, you need to trap a ball, you will stop and pass for days. And I did it as a player, so I think it's something that stuck very in life.
It's something we don't do enough of in this country. I mean, it's something I know. I've spoken to Max Caldas when he was coaching the Dutch men and women. He used to have one practice a week that was stop and pass. That was it.
Awesome.
That's what you're coming for today. There's nothing else. Don't think there's going to be anything else. He had different drills, obviously in different situations, but that's all we're doing.
It's good. I like that.
And he always said, like, critically, South Africa, our first touches are bad. We saw that last week. The Zimbabwean team, first touches were bad.
Absolutely.
Passes not going to the stick.
Yeah. So that's frustrating. And I think because you can ask them, we didn't stop the ball. We must take care of the ball. Okay, wow, you must stop the ball. So for me, just like a few minutes, a couple of minutes in a training session, you stop and pass, and it's like 2 touch. So for me, I like it, and I think it depends on coaches. Like all of us are different. So one coach like people with individual skill. I do, but I don't like.
They just use them at the right time.
Exactly. So I think it depends on coaching. But passing for me was crucial. They didn't like it, but it's
Mia, I mean, obviously you've been in a long run with one particular coach. The year's now over from a season perspective. You've got a bit of studying to do and a few exams to write in the rest of the year. What does next year look like for you? What's on the cards for Mia Pretorius?
I'm planning on taking a gap year through a program, Let's Live. I wanted to go to Australia, but the opportunity rose to go to New Zealand to work there at a school and basically be a gap student there and just help them around the classroom, boarding houses, cultural events, sports and stuff. So I'm hoping I had an interview, hoping to get accepted to go to New Zealand at St. Peter's School.
That's in Auckland, isn't it?
In Auckland, yes. Yeah. And probably play club hockey when I have the time to, but just to get a bit of a break from Pretoria and the hockey bubble. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just going to be it'll be such a wonderful life experience. And I mean, New Zealand is such a great country. There's a massive All Blacks tour of the Springboks next year, so it'll be great to be sitting in Auckland and witnessing that. And then sort of post New Zealand, is that the end of the Mia Pretorius hockey career?
Definitely not. I'm planning on maybe Tux, maybe Pick, we'll see. but definitely not the end of my hockey career.
So
Definitely will
you're
come and
available
play.
to both of them in 2027, so we can talk to Inky and a few of those other coaches, down Sheldon.
Definitely.
Time to start talking. Don't
They're
want to let
all
it get away. So that's really exciting.
Yes.
Nicoline, it's going to be an interesting season next year. Obviously, not starting from scratch, but certainly another building year.
Yes, definitely. So yeah, for the next, I've been at Affys for 5 years now. So, and for me, it's like building each year. Last year was tough, but this year, you learn from, like, even when you lose, I think you leer meer uit 'n verloor uit as 'n wen. So vir my, verloor is goed en is dit is nou jy moet daaroor kom, maar learn from it. And so for me now it's be a building phase for the next 5 years, and it's exciting.
And as we go into another year of hockey next year and stuff, I'm going to put you on the spot a bit. What would you like to see less of in South African school, and specifically in South African school girls hockey?
Okay, and so it's not hockey specific, but for me, coaching from the sideline, from parents, it's really difficult to play and you hear like 10 million things to do on the field from people that's actually not coaching, okay? And because I'm always telling them, you listen to your teammates on the field because you're in the moment and you know what's going on the field. And for me, because from the sideline you get a lot of, and then moet jy begin dink, moet ek pas, wat moet ek doen, want dit's alles gaan net in. So I think parents must remember, it's kids, let them play and just let them play. And at the end, for me, that's massive. And I think it gets worse and worse and worse every year. So I want to say, parents, just let them play and let them be a kid on the field.
Well, on those very wise words, we'd like to thank both of you for coming across to Johannesburg this evening to spend some time with us. Congratulations on an amazing season to both of you, on a wonderful schoolgirl career, and all the best in New Zealand, and all the best for your matric exams.
Thank you.
We'll be back after the break talking more hockey on 216. Welcome back to Hockey on 216, proudly driven by Hyundai. Hope Tabang, wasn't that an extraordinary little session to get someone like a legend like Nicoline just talking? I think we really got some amazing stuff out of her, and just so wonderful to listen to that hockey brain.
Definitely was fun seeing a different perspective, especially from a coaching perspective, and it makes you think, and it allows you going back to the drawing board, thinking what you can do different for the coming season as a coach. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was brilliant. Brilliant ideas as well from a goal scoring perspective, how they're going to look to turn things around, as well as Mia. I think Mia is also a brilliant player.
This is quite a great player, but just wonderful to have her on the show. And just, what I love just the most is just about how they're prepping and how they're talking about those connections and various stuff. And you just realize, why did she go on to captain South Africa, play so many games for South Africa? It's just a great privilege for us to have her on the show. Moving on to that and talking about another great legend, the Alex Fredericks Invitational, shortly just, Africa Challenge just taken place in Johannesburg last week. Both of you did a bit of time in the commentary box around that. Just a wonderful initiative by SASOC to bring Zimbabwe here and to play this international series.
Yeah, I think also what a brilliant initiative for kids, particularly at the age of 16, to be scoring goals, their first international goals, getting capped. I think what a brilliant initiative indeed, yeah.
It's a lot of pride singing your national anthem at the age of 15, 16 years old. I don't think many people can say that they've done that. So I love the initiative by SASOC, and I'm excited to see the future of hockey.
Yeah. I mean, I got Goosey singing the national anthem in the commentary box. So I thought, what a brilliant initiative. Yeah.
And you could see for some of the kids, it was really, really special, and some of the parents and everyone around it. It is just such a wonderful occasion, but it's also a wonderful opportunity to get our best hockey players playing with each other. Nicoline spoke off air. I think we were talking about how important it is for players when they're out of their school system, playing with others that they haven't necessarily played with, and what good lessons that is.
I think obviously it's a massive adaptation for coaches and players, going from your school system where you playing a certain position and has a certain key role to play, going into a national side, you're surrounded by 15 other players who can do exactly the same thing as you. So now it's thinking, how can I better myself for them, or how can I be a better team player, and rather not go individual but roll the ball rather, as Nicoline said. So I think adapting to that style of play is definitely something that's maturing them as hockey players as well.
Cool. Well, we're going to talk a bit more about that series going forward. Both of you, outside of your commentary duties that you do with SuperSport schools and the other involvement in hockey, both of you coach a bit of hockey as well. So I'm going to put you both a bit on the spot. I'm going to get out my trusty team sheets out of my wonderful butterfly pocket file here that those who know me at the hockey and see me sort of talk about. And I'd like to talk about some of what stood out for you in each of those teams, perhaps, what you saw from a coaching perspective, what you saw amongst some of the particular players. Hope, you're up first. I'm going to put you on the spot. The under-16 girls, so we had our under-16 girls versus the Zimbabwe under-16 girls. Talk to me a bit about what you saw from both sides and some of the players that stood out for you.
First of all, I'm going to comment on the ball. So none of the players are used to playing with a kookaburra. So the weight of the ball obviously makes the distribution and the way in which they're trapping and how far it bounces off your stick a little bit tougher. So your basics need to be on par. Everyone's used to an Ozzo.
I think they need to be better than on par. They need to be really good.
But besides that, there are a few standout players. I think looking at the SA side in particular, for next year, there's a lot of names coming through for the SA under-17 side potentially, and they're all playing first team in their school setup. So it's players to look out for when it comes to challenges and tournaments next year. That is Lucy Holderness, Lini Kfuagel, Charlie Rose Boyle, Chelsea Wolf. They're all impeccable players, very smart players, and you can see the way in which they read the game and how they position themselves. And something like in defense, their distance for engaging, I think it's very smart at the age of 16 years old to be able to know those principles and take them into a cup like that.
I mean, one of the things we've spoken about in the boys hockey this year is how many under-16 kids have really looked at home in first team hockey this year, and you forget that some of them haven't even turned 16 yet, so they might still be 15 years of age. And I mean, a few of those that you mentioned are interesting for me. Chelsea Wolf has made the move from Durban Girls College. I hear she's playing out of Renish and Stellenbosch next year, so she's going to be playing with a whole new team. I think she's played a bit of hockey with them at the end of the season now, but in a whole new environment, away from home, probably living in the boarding establishment. Going to be a very different year for her.
Definitely is, and I think it's going to be a great adaptation for her, but she's a phenomenal player. So either way, she's going to be a great loss for her old school, but a good asset for her new school as well. And as I've said, her hockey brain is just something that every coach wants.
It looks to me a bit like Chris Gaber's doing a bit about Liverpool. He's definitely having the best off-season. I think he's got 11 kids coming back from the squad, and he's added Wolf to it, so that's certainly going to add a lot of big dynamic in that environment. We'll come back to Charlie Rose Boyle, but the other one that you mentioned that really just stuck out for me was Lucy Holderness. She's played in a very good team this year, dominated by an extraordinary talent in her elder sister. And it's going to be really interesting for us to see her. And in fact, in this tournament, we sort of saw for the first time, not having Abigail around, what have you got? But also, what have you got when your sister's not around there, who is just such a talent? And she certainly looked in this tournament like she's going to be fine.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it was interesting to see that they didn't play her in the middle. They played her on the outside. And at one point she was on the right and the other point she was on the left. And the way in which she adapted made it very, very easy. So I don't think she is struggling without her sister. And I think if she plays and grows as an individual and matures as a hockey player, she is going to be someone you don't want to play against.
But I think the next 2 years, it's so wonderful to her now to get out of that shadow of, which must be a massive shadow, let's be honest. I mean, her sister's one of the more talented players we've seen in the last few years in South African hockey. So it's going to be really cool for her. And everything we saw last week points to the fact that she'll be just fine.
Yeah, definitely.
One of the things you didn't mention, Natalie Esteves was coaching this team last week. She's moving with those under-17s, though, and will be taking them to Malaysia.
Right? So Coach Umari Pinagea had the under-17s throughout the Alistair Fredericks and Natalie Esteves with the under-16s. So now, prepping for Minor One Cup and going, Coach Natalie Esteves is going with her team of video analysts and all that. And I know they made use of the Hilton guys. I think Damien Kimfley was here helping with video analysis, and she had great assistant coaches and the managers, Noni Mtlotlo from St. Stithians as well. So they are a bomb squad and they have a bomb squad. So I'm very excited to see what they're going to do at the Minor One Cup.
And interesting, you were just pointing out before, last year a number of these under-16 players went with that under-17 team. In fact, we had some under-15 players going with it. This next year, SASOC has made a choice just to send those under-17s.
Definitely, I think it obviously matured those players. So last year they had under-15s and under-16s in the under-17 side, and it was more of a junior squad rather, whereas this year it's an under-17 squad only, so it's a senior squad. And I think it helped the juniors prep for the coming years, and you could see the difference they made in their school system. For example, Lenique Vogel was 15 years old playing in the under-17 side, and now she's 16 years old playing in the under-16 side, didn't get selected for under-17. So I'm not sure what the dynamic is, but I'm excited to see how they're going to keep growing, because I think this year would have been ideal as you had juniors on the side who've already been at the tournament, who've already been exposed and had game time. So it's going to be a massive change in dynamics.
Absolutely. So moving on to the under-16 boys, in the other encounter last week, we saw our under-16B boys take on the under-16A boys of Zimbabwe in a 4-match series. What were your sort of takeouts from a coaching perspective and a player perspective?
I mean, I think I'll go back to Hope's point with regards to the ball that the Oaks were playing with. I think the Kookaburra had a big impact on the lads in terms of the ball skills.
Yeah.
But one outstanding thing for me was ball retention. I think Devin van der Merwe spoke about it during the St. Stithin's Easter Festival. Was one of the key things is ball retention, and the under-16B lads moved the ball really nicely, and they kept going with the ball a couple of phases before actually scoring a couple of goals. So that was interesting to see. A couple of players that stuck out for me: Matthew Young, Ben Wilson playing his hockey out of Hilton College, as well as Anthony Crossley, Butle Kama, and Caleb Silas. Those outstanding for me.
I mean, Young, we've seen, he comes, he's a bit of a local for you. You don't coach him, but he does come out of Trinity, and he's had a fantastic season for them. So we were not surprised seeing that performance. Those of us who watched him play here in some of his sort of local hockey in Johannesburg. Wilson similarly had a really good season as an under-16 boy at Hilton College, but I actually thought he actually had a better week last week almost than he's had a very good year for Hilton. He had a really outstanding week, and one of the things I think we noticed in the last game, he didn't come off the AstroTurf. In fact, I tried to interview him after the game. He couldn't even answer me in the post-match when he got man of the match, because he was just that tired. Which was incredible.
And to your point, Kelvin, I think the one most important thing that these guys, especially these under-16s, is that they play in their first sides in their respective schools.
Yeah.
So, like you say, Ben Wilson had an immaculate season for Hilton College. But for a week like that, I think the lad just decided, you know what, I'm going to step up and I'm going to show up for my country.
He really did. And I mean, he was playing against, what he also saw, which was impressive for me, someone who has had a great season and that you haven't met, Jason Joyner, who captained this team. Both him and Wilson could easily have slotted in quite easily into that under-16A side.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jason Joyner
looked the part, and they were just solid. And I think that also helped Ben having someone like Jason alongside him that was just such a solid defender. And Zimbabwe never really looked like scoring a week against that defence, did they?
No, true. I mean, Jason Joyner, what an exceptional defender as well. His ball distribution, his defensive skills, he's really good underneath the high ball as well. He plays his hockey out of St. Stephen's College, so he's had a really decent year in terms of the Aitken final against Jeppe, playing against 16A players like Mochale as well as Khoto in the midfield. So Jason Joyner, he's come up from Marklaus last year. He played in the inland side, and now he's back in Johannesburg, which is great.
Yeah, he takes some ones lucky. And the other player that also so impressed me was Anthony Crossley. And I think in a lot of respects what happens at this under-16 level is he's played almost at Hilton behind people like Madao and others, his captain, who he hasn't necessarily got the opportunities to dominate in the middle. And I was so impressed with him. And I've seen a lot of his hockey. And I was just so impressed once he was given the opportunity to be the guy, that he was the guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Crossley, these lads play behind those guys like Mudau. They see the type of style of hockey that they want to also play whenever they get given the opportunity. So when that opportunity came, Crossley just took that opportunity with both hands and just elevated his hockey.
And another player, we talk about goal scoring ability. Siliers was another one that really impressed me in that team. He just looks like, given the opportunity, he's gonna get you goals, and he'll be back for that young Paul Roos team next year, who's going to be full of youngsters as well. So a bit like that Renish discussion we had, they've got a whole lot of youngsters coming back.
No, absolutely. Siliers, he was outstanding, and I think for the Paul Roos side, like you say, next year will be interesting to see how he goes up and scores more goals. He's really, really exceptional inside the 9-yard area.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Those skill sets, to have those skill sets in the 9-yard area, particularly in the 9-yard, scoring those 2v1s, I think we spoke about it with Nicolene earlier, critical. And I think Silas is crucial for that.
Well, we'll be back after the break talking more about last week's international series, and specifically about our South African under-16A boys, the Zimbabwean under-18A boys, South African under-17 girls, after the break. Welcome back to Hockey on 216, proudly driven by Hyundai. Tabang and Hope talking with me around last week's wonderful international series between the Zimbabwean SASOC schools, which are the South African schools hockey sides, under 16s mostly, a couple under 17, and obviously the under 18s from Zimbabwe. There were a couple of people in the Zimbabwean team, under 16 boys, that also really impressed. I must say, one of the bravest captains I've seen participate in any game, just put his body on the line every single time, was Peter Motemotema from Lamagandi College, Tabanga. I don't know, I know you didn't get to too many of the games, you got to a couple of them, but it's just wonderful to see a captain in a defensive role, really, really good defender. But the bravery this youngster showed last week was just exceptional.
And I think credit again to the Zim side as well for showing up for four entire days of challenging hockey for the guys. Brilliant captaincy as well. Like you said, I didn't see much of the guys this game side. But what an exceptional opportunity for the Zim guys to come down to South Africa and actually represent their country.
Absolutely, and there were a couple of others. Tadiswa Moniayiwa, St. John's College, also wonderful in defence. Daryl Muchachemera, he put in a man of the match performance as well. I mean, in the one game where they really held those South African boys back a bit, he just put in the most extraordinary effort. And then a really promising one that we need to keep our eye on is young Christopher Thomas. Thomas Christopher, actually, is his name. I kept getting it wrong all week last week as well. See, I've got a son called Christopher, so I always learned it that way. But Thomas Christopher from Falcon College, just a wonderful midfield as well. And I'm sure we'll see him back here next year, playing in that under-18 side for Zimbabwe when we come across that. Any of the girls in that under-16 team from Zimbabwe that sort of stood out for you, Hope?
They had a phenomenal team, and but I think Vava Nicole and Zara Fik, my apologies, are two very, very good players and smart players, and they have the 1v1 skill, and the Kuka, for some other reason, wasn't such a big issue for them. They were very eager to trap it on their backhand with one hand, make those baseline runs on their backhand with one hand and get the outcomes every single time they got the ball. So those are two phenomenal players. They're not scared. They're not backing off. And once they get the ball, yes, they have a very defensive mindset. But once they win the ball, it's just go forward. And I like that from them. And I think they up and coming.
Well, we saw that from all the Zimbabwean teams all week. And so maybe moving on from that, hope we into the under-17A girls, the SASOC girls. I mean, they've obviously got a big year and lots of hockey still to play this year. So that under-17 girls playing against the Zimbabwe under-18 girls, what were your takeouts?
Well, I obviously have a few standout players as well. Raphael Abrams, Chelsea McGregor, Sarah Allen Groenewald, also known as Sarki, and in goals, Peyton Murray or Annika Kloppers. They are both great balls of China, as the girls of their team called them. So they all are the core of the South African under-17 girls setup, and going forward, I think they're all very good options for South African.
I can see what sort of player and the players you looked at, because the ones that stood out for me was the defensive line and just how solid they were in Ferreira, Hofmeyer. Well, De Silva was interesting because she'd be going from playing in the defence into midfield. I even saw her running up and left wing at some side. Just this incredible ability to slot in all over. All girls that impress so well.
I think when it comes to tactics, they have the upper hand. Obviously, as you've mentioned, you're starting as a left defender, ending as a right wing or whatever. But all of them, Chelsea, Raphael, when it comes to tactics, they're very smart players, knowing that they can back their skill. Yes, they have very good individual skills, but their placement off the ball is what catches and what caught Zimbabwe off guard. So going forward, that's amazing.
Yeah, and that rock solid sort of at the back. The other two players that have impressed me there, Ella Bauer at the back, also brave. She was playing with stitches in her knee, got smashed on the hand, was almost back after taking one in the mouth again. Another one who had such a good tournament, defender of the tournament at top 12, and I was really watching her very, very closely, was Catherine Sickle. Also another girl from that Renish outfit, back next year again. It was really just for me, just a wonderful to see. There were 4 or 5 defenders that played together. Full Skink, also from Unisi, that was part of that outfit as well. So all back in South African schoolgirls hockey. A lot expected of them now because they now go to Malaysia. You know, it's one thing playing within your South African system, playing against Zimbabwe, a slightly smaller country from, up north. You don't necessarily have the resources that a lot of these hockey nations are going to come up against in Malaysia are going to have.
Well, I think if this is the mindset they have going into Myrna One Cup, they should be all right. And as I've mentioned before, they have Natalie Esteves as a coach who's very tactically inclined, and they have a video analyst as well. They have an SNC going with, and they have an assistant coach going with. So when it comes to the prep, They have everything in hand. Now it's just a big match temperament, or BMT, as Nicoline mentioned, that's going to make the tournament a win or loss for them.
The one thing that, again, and they could perhaps borrow a little bit from what Nicoline spoke, I felt with this team, there were times when there was just too much individualism. And maybe they've just, there's some that are really good and they were, willing relatively easy, as opposed to just making that ball work, making those passes and getting that right. And that's something that a lot of them are going to have to work in. Although the one that really stood out for me, and that was the captain, Philippa Viljoen. I mean, she's just the most extraordinary athlete. She did make the ball work, but when she was on the ball in space, she's extraordinarily dangerous.
Yeah. The explosiveness is just something that I dream of having. But Calvin, interesting to note what you've said. I think they didn't have a lot of prep time, so they didn't have time to get used to one another. So now you're the best of the best with the best of the best. There's no line in between. And I think if they use a little bit of more time prepping for Formula One, they're going to be a bomb squad.
Absolutely. They sort of lost their way a bit on the penalty corners. I think Zimbabwe ran some really great lines, and there was, again, some really wonderful defending. I mean, I must tell you, again, we talk about brave defenders. Asante Ali, from Zimbabwe, had the most extraordinary week. Young Chizapiti girl. Hannah Godfrey at the back from Falcon. Similarly, Jessica Orford, wonderful tournament. Captain Matambo, I mean, the amount of times we were just talking about her, also just putting in some brave defensive performances. The one area where the Zimbabweans will be very pleased with was their defense. Although they lost the games, they were incredibly good. And in goals, Yanel Waitman for them was just outstanding. Where they will be disappointed was their ability. They did get opportunities that under 18A side, they just didn't convert them.
Definitely, and I think it comes back to the fact that their build-up was so good, and the times they did win the ball, the explosiveness and speed was great going into the South African defensive circle. It's just that last bit of getting the ball into the net that didn't go their way. So it's just rounding off that, and I think the Zim side really has a lot of potential, but a few key points and areas to focus on would be one of which is goal scoring.
Absolutely. And moving on to the boys, it was an intriguing series. The under 16A boys from South Africa certainly showed that there's an extraordinary amount of talent coming back into our system next year.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of really good standout players that entire week for me. Santiago Matruis, he plays hockey out of Hilton College. Stephen Milan, John Riffensell, who was the captain. We looked at the Zim side as well. A couple of really good guys coming out of that side. Ryan Winterboer, and as well as the only goal scorer, Dean Muzengeza, who was, I think it was really impressive of him to score that one goal.
Absolutely. No, look, there were some really good ones. I mean, as you say, in that South African side, it was interesting to chat to Dylan Phillips through the week, how he adapted. And interestingly, one of the things that he really wanted to see in the last 2 days was players coming in from the T-point, looking for that final pass, rolling the ball in. And we saw that you spoke about Santi Matruis. I mean, the son of Julian Hikes, he's got, it's in his blood to just get in that D and take the shot.
Yeah.
And yet in those final games, 3 or 4 times, his first opportunity, he looked, he made the pass, he created the goal, or he created a short corner. It was just incredible to see a kid of that young age, because he's only under 15. He's not under 16 yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's even a year younger than all of these boys.
Yeah.
And just the maturity that he showed, and those were the instructions, so coachable. Just so impressive to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you get that talent from your father, Julian Hikes, he scored plenty international goals for South Africa. So for his son to go onto his international stage as well, brilliant privilege. And like you say, coachable as well, goes into the circle. I mean, only on day 3 rather did he score his first goal for the national side.
But he set others up. I was just so impressed with. And one you left out who, for me, just had an incredible week. And again, comes from a little bit of hockey royalty in South Africa. Callum Anderson out of Bishops. Just one of the busiest, one of the most accomplished midfielders I've seen all year.
Tell you what, I'd love to see the stats on that Lighties shirt, because I think he did not, number one, did not get dispossessed the entire week. Number two, I think he ran more.
I can tell you he did once in the final thing, and we were actually in commentary. Manny looked at me and said, that's the first time he's lost the ball this week.
Yeah.
And it was in the final game. I think the legs were gone, the people around him, but he lost the ball once in the final game.
His ball retention is so exceptional. He's got explosive speed to actually understand and read space. So the ability for him to actually receive the ball from the likes of Milan and Fonsel at the back and actually turn a couple of Zimbabweans and actually go forward was exceptional to watch.
Another defender who completely impressed me again, and I'd watched him in the Pole Derby the week before when Pole Boys rolled over Polchim, was young Jamie Cock, also 16 years old, outside. He just also had a fantastic week again, and everything that I saw that he brought to the party in a very tense derby encounter just looked like international hockey was just such an easy step up for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, kudos again to the lads actually playing a level higher at school level. We saw Cock playing down the right-hand side. He infiltrated that right-hand space quite phenomenally as well. So again, distribution as well as understanding of the game and reading ability, exceptional.
And obviously going into next year, we're looking at, we talk a bit about these players going back into their systems, teams that we're really expecting a lot from next year. JP Boys we're expecting a lot from, and they really had 3 standout players in this tournament. Letho has just had the most amazing season for JP, so no surprises. He was outstanding again last week. He was just everywhere and playing alongside Anderson. That's quite a combination to crack.
Absolutely, and I think it gives the likes of Lithonia such great credibility as well going into next year's season. He's got Mogale up front. I think Coach Siasachana is spoiled for choice. As well, I think one other key player that we might be leaving out here is Cade Lottering.
Yeah.
Exceptional talent.
Didn't play first team hockey this year, so we always thought about him as an under 16 player. But when you see him here, you're going, oh,
who's
JP,
he?
You just realise what JP have got there when they sort of
absolutely.
can leave
And
that in the under 16 ranks.
And I think credit to the likes of Brian Hillock. I think he's run a phenomenal program at the school. I was privileged enough to work at the school at some stage, so I think he runs a really brilliant program. So the likes of Cade Lottering came out of nowhere, and I mean he's also seen himself getting an international goal this past week.
Blaine Candy out at Kes is going to keep them busy though next year in that derby that they're going to meet twice, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also a phenomenal season that Kes has had. Blaine Candy, exceptional in front of goal. So it'll be exciting to see what the Kes JP derby does next year. We know that this year JP has obviously had 2 over them. Last year, I think one of Finn Campbell's, he was skipper for the side. One of his favourite memories was beating JP 3-2 last year. So it'll be exciting to see.
One of the players that was interesting for me, and we talk about, he didn't score goals, which he did do at the tournament, but showed a lot. And every single one of the coaches that I spoke to was just raving about him, was Luke Boyle, saying, this kid has really got it. Now, as on the outside, you can say, well, he didn't really score the goals that we expected from him last week, but there was a lot to see that you go, okay, there's something special here. And the coaches were just raving about what he was doing, in the practice environment, and saying, this kid's going to score a lot of goals.
I mean, absolutely. Also comes from a hockey royalty. His brother also, Tristan Ball, just been invited to the Oceania 21 side. Exceptional player. I think he hit a couple of the crossbar last week, and when he hit that ball, I think even the umpire's reaction on the video, if you go watch the highlights,
they almost had to go and fetch the goals back.
Absolutely,
knocked out of
I think there was a bit of a dent in St David's crossbar there.
Absolutely. So look, it was a wonderful week of hockey. We've still got a couple of weeks left in the South African season. Just quickly before we close out the show, Friday Night Lights this week. Hyundai Friday Night Lights, always one of the highlights of on the hockey calendar. Hope, what have we got coming up?
So massive one, Sachs versus Bishops, Friday Night Lights, and then obviously we have York, Otanikwa, Charlie Hoffmeyer and Robertson, Queen versus Dale, Nico Milan versus Framesby, Kersney Fives coming up, and the Menlo Park Under 13 tournament. It's going to be
still some really exciting hockey.
Yeah.
Sachs versus Bishops. I mean, as good as we think Callum Anderson is, it's going to be tough for the youngster to be taking on, that talented side. And I think we'd all fall off our chairs, quite honestly, for any other result. That Sachs team have just looked too good for everyone this year, and that would be. Anyone want to go against that, or you?
No. I think I'm going to leave it to that. Although next year there's an interesting fixture coming up that one of the hockey royalties also confirmed for me last week at the series.
I don't know if I should. News? You can break the news. I know where you're going. You can break the news.
So I've heard confirmation.
Be the guy who breaks the news.
Should I? Hey?
Yeah, be the guy.
I've heard confirmation that JP will be playing Sachs next year, and I think that's an exceptional game to look forward to.
Playing Sachs next year.
Yeah,
so you're not breaking the news.
I think they've cracked the invite to Hubert Shield. So
no, they've always been invited. They've accepted.
They've accepted the invite. I think that's the key one.
So that's what we've heard. Not yet confirmed, so maybe a little bit of breaking news, but that's going to be really exciting.
Absolutely.
Paul Gymnasium will be there with all of their youngsters back next year.
Yeah.
Dale Queen, always very special Eastern Cape Clash, so looking forward to that and some of those other wonderful tournaments. So, some really exciting hockey coming up this weekend, and obviously the big one, Hyundai Friday Night Lights, Sachs versus Bishops. We'll be back next week talking more hockey on 216. Proudly driven by Hyundai.